Well, the federal opposition is accusing the Prime Minister of delaying taking action on the citizenship saga in a bid to save his political skin. Malcolm Turnbull will meet with Labor leader Bill Shorten tomorrow to discuss his proposal for all politicians to disclose their citizenship status. Political reporter Matthew Doran joins us live from Parliament House. And Matthew, Labor's unhappy with the time frame the Prime Minister has set out for the disclosure process.
That's right, Kath. Good evening. If both the House of Representatives and the Senate agree to this new measure to force all parliamentarians to disclose their citizenship status to Parliament, they would have some 21 days to comply with that order, and that will push this matter well into the late reaches of December. And particularly if there are any issues that come up with the eligibility of senators and members of Parliament, it will continue to drag this whole saga out, potentially into the new year, especially if there are any High Court referrals that flow from this decision. So Labor will meet with the Prime Minister tomorrow to discuss this proposal. The opposition leader Bill Shorten meeting with the Prime Minister. He has said that he will approach this meeting with an open mind, but has criticised the Prime Minister for initially rebuking his offer of a similar measure, which was made last Friday. And only a few days later, Malcolm Turnbull seems to come to the table with a very similar proposal. Labor's Senate leader Penny Wong says that when there are issues still surrounding this dual citizenship saga, when there are still questions about Liberal MPs, particularly those such as John Alexander, the former Australian tennis great, that Malcolm Turnbull really should be acting to bring about some conclusion to this matter as quickly as possible.
Mr Turnbull is proposing a process that ensures that disclosure for his MPs, all MPs, is not required until Parliament rises. It is a blatant attempt to skate through this difficult period to next year. Mr Turnbull should not allow the House of Representatives to turn into a protection racket for John Alexander and anyone else simply because Mr Turnbull doesn't want to risk his numbers on the floor of the House.
Now, Matthew, despite that, the Prime Minister has conceded that his new citizenship declaration plan could indeed have consequences for the government.
That's right. It is something of a gamble for Malcolm Turnbull, because if any more coalition members are found to have questions about their citizenship status, or indeed are found to be dual citizens, it could, if they're in the lower house, force more by-elections along the same lines as what we are seeing in Tamworth or in New England, where Malcolm Turnbull's been campaigning with the former Deputy Prime Minister Barnaby Joyce today. And when it comes to any of those coalition members also being forced out of Parliament, Malcolm Turnbull's grip on power would be significantly weakened, or even further thrown into doubt. One of those of key concern for the government is John Alexander, the former tennis great, who is now checking his British citizenship, or whether or not he is a British citizen, with the UK authorities. He's issued a statement this afternoon which says he is still of the view that he is solely an Australian citizen, as his father was born in the UK, and consistent with the plan of action outlined by the Prime Minister yesterday, he is making further inquiries, and on verification of his status, he will make a full statement. The Prime Minister, speaking earlier today on Radio National, said that he's fully aware that there could be situations where more members resign, and in fact he would urge them to do so as soon as they get relevant documentation, relevant evidence that they could in fact be breaching that constitutional provision.
Obviously, if a member believes that they are a dual citizen now and are ineligible to sit in the Parliament, then they should resign. But you know, so it is. I take it as a given that every member of the House and the Senate, as of today, believes that they are eligible to sit in the House or the Senate.
And finally, Matthew, on another issue, the Bureau of Stats has released its latest data on how many same-sex marriage postal survey ballots have been returned. So, how many Aussies have taken part? So
far the ABS is estimating that around 12.6 million Australians, or around 78.5% of ballot papers, have been returned to the ABS. That is an estimate taken from last Friday. So there still could be some that have trickled in, because the deadline to have them returned to the ABS ABS was today, and the ABS offices around the country were still taking ballot papers that were being physically handed in from Australian voters right up until today. So the outcome of the same-sex marriage postal survey will be announced next Wednesday at 10 o'clock here in Canberra, 10 o'clock in the morning, when we will find out whether or not Australians have voted in favour of legalising same-sex marriage. But of course, that is only the beginning of this debate, because then all eyes will turn to Parliament. If it is indeed a yes vote, we will wait to see whether or not Parliament can effectively move legislation to legalise same-sex marriage quickly, because the Prime Minister wants to get it done before Christmas. There are some members of his own party who are very keen to slow this whole process down.
It seems there's a lot to be done before Christmas. Matthew Doran, many thanks.